Just getting some water. You may want to, well, hopefully you have some water or some tea, coffee, whatever, something to drink nearby. And I am getting myself situated. Feel free to get yourself situated. If you're watching the replay, you may want to pause this and get what you need. I always love to have paper, pencil, marker, something to jot down ideas when I'm in a workshop, because there's something that happens when we take something from in here and put it down on paper, put it in words. We bring the theoretical, the mental into the physical world. And I, at some point today, probably will be putting some notes here for you to read. I'm so excited that you're here. It is so wonderful to be doing this with you. The mind and the power of our mind, the magic of our minds, is one of the things that gets me so excited and so lit up, both from a scientific point of view and the other areas that science doesn't know all the answers for, but which we are exploring and discovering and using until science can tell us how it goes. So, if this is your first time interacting with me and engaging with me, welcome. I'm a former public school teacher. I'm an environmental educator, and I am a lover of words and of expanding our lives to be something that is more incredible, more nourishing, more beneficial, while also recognizing and acknowledging that we live on a planet that has finite resources, and honoring the planet, honoring other people. My core values are very much that whatever I'm doing to advance my life and it help you advance your life, that we do it while respecting all the other human beings and the other living organisms and our planet. I don't want growth at the expense of Black, Indigenous, or other colored brothers and sisters. I don't want it at the expense of bees and butterflies and insects. I don't want it at the expense of all of the other organisms on this planet that we share this wonderful space with. And so it's important that you know that those are my values, and those will always be my values. And hopefully you are at least open to exploring that as a cornerstone of your values as well. Part of my business, Soul Pioneer, I donate 10% to environmental and social justice efforts, because I acknowledge that my success is not just what I have done alone, neither will yours be. We live in a community, and it is important to steward and honor and respect that community and to give back into that community. All right. So enough about the values and the foundation and the framework. I'm so excited that you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about discovering the magic of your mind. And first, I want us to start with, so in today's workshop, I'm going to be teaching you a few things that are general truths, general facts about human brains in general. However, each person is unique. I mean, there's a lot of neurodiversity in our world, and you may be neurodiverse from the mainstream. So while we'll get to some of those basic facts, averages in a moment, I do want to start out by acknowledging your unique way that your brain works, that your mind, how your mind works in your life, in your body, how it shows up, the interesting and unique and totally individual ways that you experience your thoughts, your mind, your brain. And this would be a great time to get your pen and paper. I'm going to give you a moment. Let me grab my phone so I can give you a full, at least 30 seconds to a minute. I think we're going to take a minute, because if I don't give you the time, I know from The way my brain works and my experience of doing a workshop, if I'm not given the time then and someone says, pause the video, come back and do this, it's not going to happen. So I'm giving you the time now. And as I'm saying that, you can be getting your paper and pencil ready. If you don't have paper and pencil, I'm okay with you doing it on, let's say, the Notes app on your phone or some other, typing it on your computer. That's fine, but it can't stay in here. It has to get out so where your eyes can see it. And this is something I'll touch upon later. It's a non-negotiable. So of course I can't enforce it from where I am, but I'm just going to encourage you to get this out. So I've got my stopwatch here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give us 1 minute to brainstorm, to make a list, to be reflective about what are the unique ways that your mind works in your life. Now, some of these might be the annoying things. Like I just shared, if I'm asked to do something and I'm not given the time, I don't do it. Maybe you have repetitive or racing thoughts. Maybe you have anxiety or depression. Maybe, I don't know what, maybe you're always a problem solver and you can't turn your brain off. These are some of the things that I experience. That's why they're a little bit easy for me to come up with as examples. So I want you to think, and sometimes it's easiest to think of the things that are a little bit annoying because those are front of mind, top of mind, but you may also have a lot of gratitude. Maybe your mind is incredibly visual, always remembers a song, whatever. So we're just going to take a few moments to make as much of a list of the unique things about your mind. I'm going to start the timer here. And visually, this is going to be boring because I want you to be thinking and jotting things down. Okay. You may come up with more afterwards. So, but we've had a minute, so I'm going to stop us right there. Just to share a few of mine to give you an idea. When I have a problem, my brain loves to obsess about it. And I definitely notice that my brain focuses on problems. My brain is detail oriented. I'm very literal minded. If someone says something, I picture it. Also, if they say, don't think about this, or start talking about a medical procedure, I get grossed out because I start building the mental picture in my mind. I love to synthesize. And I also pay attention to, do I think other people like me? So these are some of my idiosyncrasies. Some of them you may share as well. If you have ADHD, you might have noticed it was super hard for you to come up with something and stay focused on this. So I want us to begin with honoring that your mind, your unique gifts that you have, those are yours and yours alone. And yes, some of these things you may share in common with other people, some of these tendencies and ways that our minds work. But I had to start by acknowledging what are the unique things that you notice about your own inner workings, the way your thoughts work, the way your mind works, because I want you to take time today and hopefully every day to extend love and compassion to yourself, to feel positive about how you are the way that you are. And of course, any one of us could have a mind, a brain that works in ways that are a little bit annoying or problematic or might not give us the results that we want right away. But I believe that every human being, how you are designed, is the perfect intended way that you were to be designed. And within that is a level of power and gratitude and appreciation. And that the more that you can embrace your whole being as you are and have a holistic way of having love and compassion for yourself, the more power that you have. And also with anything, I always try and focus on how can I and how can you work with what we have rather than fight against it? Like if you have tendencies, maybe they're not weaknesses, maybe they're strengths. All right. And I brought a little fruit here because I'm a little bit fruity. And this is going to relate to one of the topics coming up. So a little preview that we've got the lemon here. So I want you to make friends with your mind, to be okay with all of your idiosyncrasies. And many of us have had so many moments throughout our lives where parents, government, teachers, culture wanted to change us, wanted to get us to be a certain way. I mean, I'm a parent myself. I try and get my children to do things. I try and teach them the ways of the world. And even as I do this, I acknowledge that there's a good chance that at some point in the future, they're going to have to unlearn what I'm teaching them. They're going to have to process and heal from something that me or somebody else did to them that isn't serving the best of who they are. All of that withstanding, you and I right now, we have the power to start having a positive attention towards ourselves and towards our mind. And as I move forward through this workshop, it's just one of the things that I'm going to try and come back to again and again is that remembering that you having a positive attitude towards yourself is so important. And if, as you're listening, you're thinking, well, I don't really feel that positive about myself, or I see a lot of drawbacks that I have, then I just ask that for this experience today, you put that judgment down and you explore the feeling of having total love and compassion for yourself and embracing yourself as a whole human being. All right, so let's talk about the mind. The brain is so good at some things. And what I want us to do when we're looking at the magic of the mind is to really tune into how can we use the mind, our mind, to the best of its capabilities and use those to work for our lives. You know, when I'm using my car, I want to use my car to the best of its ability, drive it on the roads where it'll do the best, fill it with the kind of fuel that it'll use the best, fill it up and drive, sit in it in the way that works the best. Same with your mind. Your brain is like a driver in your life. And if you want to get somewhere, that driver has its own way that it wants to get there. And if we're working with it, it's a much smoother ride. So first off, your brain has it does not make a distinction between the truth of a story or a memory or something in your imagination versus something that really happened. It does not distinguish. So for example, let's say yesterday I went to a swimming pool, which I did. And in my memory, I remember swimming 20 laps smoothly, so gracefully, with such fitness, and it was incredible. And if I create a story in my mind and visualize it over, and let's say I do this every day. So I didn't actually swim 20 laps. I don't even think I swam 1 lap, but I do have the memory of going to the pool and being in the water and that feeling. So I can easily call that back up. Well, if I add to that memory this idea of me swimming 20 laps in the pool seamlessly, flawlessly, the feeling of the water, the feeling of my body, exercising. Over time, let's say I spent 1 minute a day focusing on this imagined memory, like I added on to my memory of going to the pool yesterday. If you look at my brain or did a brain scan, let's say 6 months from now, you're not going to be able to tell, did I actually swim 20 laps or not? The way they've looked at this in studies with athletes is there's not really a difference between somebody who practices, an athlete who visualizes shooting the basketball, let's say, for 30 minutes, even if they actually only practice for 10 minutes, let's say, and somebody who actually practices for 30 minutes a day. Now, of course, we all know I can't sit here and picture every single day swimming 20 laps and get in the pool and be as good as somebody who actually does swim 20 laps a day. But what I'm saying is the parts of your brain, because I won't have the muscle memory. So even though my brain is primed, the rest of my body has to catch up to that. But my brain doesn't actually know whether or not I've done this, because even though it's in my body, it's not aware of, did that really happen or did I imagine that it happened? Same thing you could think of. Let's say you had an experience when you were driving recently and you got into like a fight with somebody at a stoplight. And now every time you pass that stoplight, you feel your shoulders going up, your blood racing, you get so angry and you think about how that person disrespected you. Well, if you pass this stoplight every day and every day you remember that memory, you are solidifying it, because you're also using emotion. You are putting it in your long-term memory. And so over time, you start to associate this stoplight with being angry, with having high blood pressure. Now, in contrast, let's say you had that experience, and then the next day you think about it and you think, well, maybe that person was having a bad day. Like, yeah, we got into an argument at the stoplight and hands were flailing, but I don't want to think about this. Like, I'm just going to let it go. And then the next day you're there, you remember it, but you think, I'm going to send this person love. Maybe something really bad had just happened to them. Maybe they just got fired, or, their kid is failing or got arrested, or something really dramatic is happening to them. And so you send that person love. And let's say you do that every day for a week. In 1 week or 2 weeks, the person who every time they drive by the intersection, who thinks with anger of the moment that they had that altercation with the person at the stoplight, versus the person who's sending love every single day for 2 weeks when they drive by that intersection, you and I can both know right now that those two people are already having two very different experiences in life. This person is every day cultivating love. They're letting things go. They're moving past it. This person is solidifying anger and resentment and maybe even frustration with the world every single day. The same incident happened to both this person and this person, but they each had a different reaction, and their continued reaction and their continued way of remembering this experience impacts who they are moving forward. So, one of the things where we have a lot of power for what we can do within our lives is we can have the flexibility, we can use our imagination to start to look at experiences differently. We can start to visualize future experiences that we desire to have that we have not yet had, but that we would like to take in. All right, so now I'm going to come back to the lemon, and I will come back to our imagination here in a moment. But so I'm holding up this lemon, and it's, you know, just an average lemon, just your standard lemon here. And, you know, I want you to start thinking about, in a moment, I'm going to have you close your eyes. But I consider myself an optimist. So I'm the type of person that if you give me a lemon, I'm going to do some lemon zest in a muffin. I'm going to put some lemon juice in my water. I may not officially make lemonade, but I'm going to use this lemon in a recipe. Because yes, it's sour, but when we mix this lemon and the lemon zest in with everything else we have, this sourness makes the sweetness even sweeter. And if you like good food, like I like good food, you know that a lemon or a lime juice or zest can sometimes be what takes a recipe, what takes a meal from good to outstanding. Last week I was making a new like burrito recipe that I had never made before. The recipe called for lime juice. I didn't have limes, but I did have lemons. And you know, they're pretty similar, but they're not exactly the same. I added the lemon juice. I tasted it. It was pretty good. And you know, I enjoyed it. It nourished me. It was good food. I was happy I made a homemade meal. But I knew at the time, I thought if I would have used lime juice, it would have tasted 10% better at least. There was something about that the lime flavor that recipe just really called for. And so even though this whole take a lemon and make lemonade is very cliche, I want to remind you that your taste buds know the truth of how great a lemon or a lime can impact a meal. All right, now we're going to pause for a moment. If you're in a place where it's safe to close your eyes, I would like you to do that. If not, then I want you to try and just focus on, you know, if you're driving, focus on the road, obviously, but pay attention to my words and really let yourself go with the words and follow along and try your best to visualize. If you can close your eyes, that's ideal. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes if at all possible and take a deep breath. And I want you to imagine that I'm sitting here in the same room as you. And we are sitting side by side. And I reach into my bag and I pull out a lemon. And I tell you that I got a lemon for us. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And I get out your glass or your water bottle. And I ask you to hold on to the lemon for a moment while I grab a knife. So you hold on to the lemon and you feel the slightly bumpy texture of the lemon. And the peel has a little bit of give to it, but it feels it feels firm. And you notice that at one end, you know, is the little dimple, I think people call it. And then at the other end is the stem where it was attached to the tree. So you bring it to your nose and you sniff a little bit. And then you hand the lemon back to me. Now I cut it open and you hear the sound of the knife slicing through the lemon. That serration happening. And I pull the two lemon halves apart. And because I'm a little bit of a fun humorous trickster kind of friend, but not trickster in a bad way. I asked you to hold out your hand. So you hold out your hand and I put half of a lemon into it. And then I tell you, all right, bring it to your mouth. You're going to take a bite of this. And you bring the lemon to your mouth. But before you do, you look down and you see glistening on the lemon half that I've given you. You see all the different sections. You see a little bit of lemon juice glistening on the edges. You see the white pith. And you open your mouth getting ready to take a bite. Now, depending on how brave you are and how much you like sour things, you might feel a little bit of hesitation right now. But because I'm a little bit persistent, I'm encouraging you, you need to take a bite of this lemon. We're having an adventure, and this is step one of the adventure today. So you put the lemon in your mouth and you bite down hard. And you feel the juice squirt out from the little lemon sections into your mouth. Now, still with your eyes closed, I want you to notice. Did you notice anything different happening in your mouth when I was telling this little story, this visualization? Most people notice that it's involuntary, that they cannot even help but when they are hearing a story about a lemon and asked to visualize taking a bite of a lemon, your mouth starts watering without you having to do a thing. You don't even have we're not even in the same room. You don't even have the lemon, but your mouth is getting ready for that juicy sourness. It maybe is puckering up. I can feel the salivation, the saliva growing and building in my mouth. And I'm bringing this up because you may have heard people talk about the power of our brain or the magic of your mind, the power of your mind. But when you hear that someone is handing you a lemon and you're going to take a bite of it, and all of this is still just an imagination that we are pretending for a moment, and your mouth is ready for that lemon, right there, you are convinced that your brain is impacting your body simply by you telling it a story. And even though that story wasn't happening to you in a real setting where I was with you, your mouth was ready to respond. So we're almost ready to wrap up, but I hope that this is giving you a level of excitement, because it is a preview of how powerful your brain is, how powerful your mind is, and willing to lean into the story, to lean into the imagination that you are presenting for it. So to wrap up, I'm going to have two things for you to think about moving forward. And we can also connect further if this really gets you going, because I'm hoping it does. So there's an idea called the progress principle. And what it is, they found out at Harvard Business Review, they did a study of thousands of people in all different industries. They were looking at what makes them feel happy and what makes them feel good about business. And what they found was, in all different industries, the people who felt happy about their work, the people who felt life satisfaction, were the people who were making regular progress towards a goal that meant something strongly to them. They didn't actually have to achieve the goal. In many cases, they didn't achieve the thing that they were striving for. But what was found was the meaningful element that was necessary for happiness and life satisfaction was the element of making regular progress. And, different people can judge progress differently, but when you are thinking about how can you be using your mind in a way that is bringing more happiness, bringing more magic into your life, one of the things that we can do is think of how can we create regular moments where you are doing things that move you, that progress you forward towards something that is meaningful to you, towards a goal or a dream that means a lot to you. And yes, we're hoping that you get this goal, that you achieve this dream, but the striving for it and the progress that you make moving towards it is what actually creates the happiness, not the achievement of the goal. And you may know this as well. If you look at your life, there are probably things that you've achieved that made you happy, but there are also things that you've achieved that you thought would make you happy. But when you achieve them, you weren't actually any happier than you were beforehand. And that's one of the ironic things about how we don't actually know what'll make us happy, or we think that something will make us happy. But when we actually experience it, sometimes we find that that thing doesn't make us happy. So how can you engage in a regular way, moving forward on something, towards something that means a lot to you? Well, one of the things that you can do is you can make a list of 5 to 10 small things that are either different activities or the same types of things that you can do on a regular basis that are moving you towards your goal. So I'm going to give a few examples here before we have to wrap up. Let's say your goal is to have a really fit, healthy body. Well, maybe one of the things is once a week, you look up healthy recipes and you spend 5 minutes doing that. Maybe another thing is every day you spend 10 minutes or 5 minutes, if 5 is more doable, trying out a new fitness video on YouTube or some other streaming platform. Maybe you go on Pinterest and you find 5 stretches, and for a week, every day you try out a new stretch. This process of small actions that you can repeat and you can try out on a regular basis, that you work as long as you keep on working towards your goal of fitness, and as long as you keep on making the thing small enough that it's achievable for you to do something every day or most days, maybe Monday through Friday is better for you than 7 days a week. As long as you have continuous progress forward, you are going to feel better about this goal and start to feel more positive over time. And one of the reasons I want you to focus on something that's small, that only takes 5 or 10 minutes, is because another thing about the mind is the mind likes patterns. It likes the way that things have been. Partly that's the way the neurologically, the physiology is the way it's set up, the way that you're wired. That's one of the reasons. So the things that you're comfortable doing are likely to be the things that you keep on doing, even if it's not what you ultimately want for yourself. One of the ways to break through your comfort zone to get closer to the thing that you want, which is outside of your comfort zone, is to take small actions, because small actions do not make your mind feel like there's something alarming going on. Oh, wait, I need to get us back in the safe zone, in the comfort zone. Small actions, it's very easy to minimize and say they're small, it's not doing anything. But what it actually does is slowly is increasing and expanding your comfort zone. So if every day you tried out a new stretch, after 3 months, you've tried out, 90 new stretches. Or maybe even if it's just a new 5-minute series of stretches, And every week you tried a new one. After 3 months, you've had 12 different series of stretches. You've got to try out some things. You've probably found a few that you like. You have more flexibility. Are you an Olympic athlete? Probably not if you're only doing 5 minutes a day. But there is going to be a measurable difference both in your mind and your physiology having done this for 90 days. And actually, there are a lot of there are doctors who are now recommending smaller ways of medical doctors who, if you want to get fit, they recommend doing these small workouts rather than saying, I want you to work out for 30 minutes every day. Because the person who's doing zero, going from 0 to 30 is unrealistic. That person, yes, it could happen. Yes, you could have a health scare that's enough to make you say, I'm going to start doing 30 minutes every day. But it's much more realistic for that person to start doing 5 minutes a day. And then in 6 weeks, maybe they're ready for 10 minutes. Maybe even before 6 weeks, they're ready for 10 minutes a day. If confidence in speaking in public or meeting new people is your area of growth that you really want to lean into, then again, you can make a list of 5 to 10 ways that, okay, how can I start meeting people? How could I meet one person a day? How could I talk to one new person a day? Whether that's a real engagement online or hopefully it's a real face-to-face engagement if you're able to do that. Over the course of 30 days, you have practiced that 30 times. You're starting to build your muscle. And okay, some of those times might have felt like a failure. However, because you show up and keep on doing it every day, this small action for just 5 minutes, you're starting to show yourself that you could take a 5-minute failure. You could do something for 5 minutes every day. You could make progress on this thing, and you expand your comfort zone. And the last thing that I'm going to leave you with before we wrap it up is a positive, if all of this is a little bit overwhelming to you and you're thinking, it all sounds really good, but I just don't know if I can do it, Rachel. What I want you to do is to frame the thing that you want in a positive what if question, and just spend the next week to 10 days saying that question, asking that question of yourself several times a day. So a positive question about talking to people could say, what if I felt amazing meeting new people? What if I met one new person a day and I felt comfortable with that? Whatever level of, I want you to put some level of emotion in it, but I still want it to feel good, this what if. If this what if question, similar to people talk about this with affirmations, if it seems so outlandish that already you feel yourself rejecting it, even as you're asking it, that's not a good one for you. You want to take it down a few levels to something that feels reasonable for your mind to think about. Because the other thing I mentioned, your mind likes patterns. Your mind also likes to complete things. If you leave your mind with an open loop, your mind is very uncomfortable with that and wants to finish the loop. So for example, when I showed you this lemon in the beginning and said I was going to talk to you about that, likely there was a part of your brain that until I started talking about the lemon, your mind was wondering what I was going to say. And there's probably that same part of your mind that was trying to figure out what it was going to be. And if I would have not told you anything about the lemon, you would have ended this experience with a level of dissatisfaction and discomfort with what I was sharing, because I opened a loop in your mind, but I didn't close the loop. Now, when clients work with me one-on-one, we look at the self-talk in your mind and we try and open new positive loops and find ways to reorganize or totally replace negative self-talk so that the loops that go around and around and around in your mind of repetitive thinking, that those are positive phrases of repetitive thinking as opposed to negative phrases. And this positive what if that I'm presenting with you here, or positive what if question, is one way you can start putting positive open loops in your mind so that your mind is looking for an answer that is more aligned with the direction you want to move in, as opposed to being aligned with fear and negativity and things that you don't want in your life. And in the future, I will share with you more about how you can use your mind to create more positive feeling, to have better emotion along with these thoughts. And so you can move more towards a life that feels really aligned with your values and your dreams. And so that you're building a legacy now of a life that you truly desire. So it was so wonderful getting to share this time with you and discovering the magic of your mind. I would love if you would share this with somebody else who you think would also really benefit. I'm sure you have a friend or a family member or a colleague who has something that they is a burning desire or a dream, and you know it's something that they want to be a part of their life legacy, but it's not happening right now. And maybe they're bogged down because they feel like there's too much time spent parenting or too much time spent with work, or it's just not a good time right now, but yet they do have this desire that they want to engage with. Please connect them to me and connect them to this talk so that they can find a way to start engaging with this dream that they have, this desire, and start making progress moving forward today. All right, wishing you the best and see you in the next class, the next video. Bye.